These are 9 perennial crops you can plant once and harvest for decades, revolutionizing how you think about gardening and food production. As Eric Toensmeyer documented in his groundbreaking book Perennial Vegetables, this is the foundation of permaculture food forests, a system our ancestors understood, but modern gardening has largely forgotten. While most gardeners replant their entire vegetable gardens every single year, there's a smarter way. Most North American gardening traditions come from Europe, where there are very few native perennial crops except fruits and nuts. The all-annual garden filled with tomatoes, peppers, and cucumbers that we see everywhere today is actually a modern invention. But perennial vegetables, crops that live longer than 3 years, offer something extraordinary. Plant them once and they'll feed you year after year with minimal effort. Let's start with asparagus. Asparagus officinalis, often called the king of perennial vegetables. This remarkable plant can live 20 to 30 years, sometimes even longer. I'm talking about a single planting that will outlast your mortgage. Here's the timeline that makes asparagus so compelling. You plant crowns in year 1 and resist harvesting. Year 2 brings a light harvest, but by year 3 you're getting your first significant harvest. By year 7 you've reached peak production, and this is where it gets impressive. A mature asparagus bed can yield 3,000 to 5,000 pounds per acre at peak production, with individual crowns producing 1/2 to 3/4 of a pound per season. That's 10 to 15 spears per crown. The math is simple but powerful. Invest 3 years of patience for 15 to 30 years of harvests. Michigan growers alone harvested 22 million pounds of asparagus from less than 9,000 acres in 2015, valued at nearly $20 million. But asparagus isn't even the longest-lived perennial crop. That honor goes to rhubarb, which can live half a century in the right spot. I've found documented cases of rhubarb plants being passed down through families for generations. One family claims their plant survived for 150 years, including a boat trip from Sweden. Think about that for a moment. A single plant outliving multiple generations of gardeners. Rhubarb thrives where average temperatures fall below 40 degrees Fahrenheit in winter and below 75 degrees in summer, making it perfect for northern climates in USDA zones 2B through 7. The plant goes dormant each winter, then emerges in spring with those distinctive red stalks we harvest for 8 to 10 weeks. With proper care, you'll harvest from the same plant for decades. Jerusalem artichoke, Elianthus tuberosus, also called sunchoke, represents a completely different approach to perennial growing. This North American native produces edible tubers that multiply underground. Here's a real example of their productivity. One gardener planted 8 tubers in a container and harvested more than 60 edible tubers by the end of the season. The plants grow 6 to 10 feet tall and spread by rhizomes, creating colonies that can feed you indefinitely. Native Americans cultivated sunchokes long before European contact, with the Three Sisters companion planting system demonstrating their deep understanding of indigenous food sovereignty. According to Iroquois mythology, the first sunchokes grew from Earthwoman's feet. The tubers contain up to 75% inulin by dry weight, making them an excellent source of prebiotic fiber. In just 1 cup, you get 28% of your daily iron, 18% of potassium, and 10% of vitamin C. But here's the warning. Jerusalem artichokes can become invasive if not managed properly. They spread aggressively and can be difficult to remove once established. Plant them where you want them forever, or contain them with barriers. Globe artichokes bring Mediterranean elegance to the perennial garden. These plants produce edible flower heads for 5 to 8 years before needing replacement. In mild climates where temperatures rarely drop below 50 degrees Fahrenheit for extended periods, they're truly perennial. A mature plant can produce 6 to 12 edible buds each summer, and Thomas Jefferson reportedly grew them at Monticello as early as 1767. The artichoke harvest timing is crucial. You want those buds while they're still tightly closed. Once they open into purple flowers, they're too tough to eat. Each plant represents a long-term investment that pays dividends for nearly a decade. Moving into the fruit realm, blueberries stand out as perhaps the ultimate perennial crop. These plants can live 50 years or more, with documented cases of productive plants lasting even longer. They typically require 6 to 8 years to reach full production, but once established, they'll outlive most other garden investments. The secret to blueberry longevity lies in their soil requirements. They need acidic, well-draining soil with a pH between 4.5 and 5.5. Meet these conditions, and you're looking at decades of berry production from plants that start as small shrubs and mature into substantial bushes 5 to 8 feet tall. Strawberry plants offer a different model of perennial production. While individual plants peak in their second and third years, they continuously produce runners, essentially clone plants that establish new productive areas. This means your strawberry patch can literally live forever, with new plants replacing older ones in a natural cycle of renewal. Many strawberry varieties are cold hardy to zone 3, and everbearing types produce steadily throughout summer and into autumn. The key is managing the patch, removing older plants, and allowing runners to establish new productive areas. Perennial herbs represent perhaps the most practical category for most gardeners. Thyme, rosemary, oregano, sage, and chives can live for decades with minimal care. I've documented cases of sage plants thriving in containers for over 10 years and chives persisting for more than 20 years. These herbs fall into 2 categories. Woody herbs like rosemary and thyme that stay green year-round in mild climates, and herbaceous herbs like chives and oregano that die back in winter but regrow from living roots. The woody herbs are particularly valuable because they provide fresh seasoning throughout the year. Thyme exemplifies the low-maintenance nature of perennial herbs. It thrives in poor, dry soil and actually struggles with too much water or rich compost. It's generally pest-free and disease-free, tolerating cold winters while providing continuous harvest. Garlic, typically grown as an annual, can actually function as a perennial crop. Instead of harvesting all your bulbs each summer, harvest only the largest heads and leave the rest in the ground. They'll continue to divide and multiply year after year, creating an endless garlic patch. You can harvest garlic greens in early spring, scapes in late spring, and mature bulbs in summer, all from the same permanent planting. Now let's talk about horseradish. Armoracia rusticana, another powerhouse perennial that's surprisingly easy to grow. Plant 1 root and you'll have spicy condiments for life. Horseradish is hardy in zones 2 to 9, and like many perennials, it actually becomes more productive with age. The deep taproot can extend 3 feet down, making it incredibly drought tolerant once established. The final category includes some lesser-known but remarkable perennials. Perennial kale, also known as Taunton-Dean kale, produces tender leaves for several years, surviving mild winters and providing continuous harvests throughout the growing season. 9-star broccoli represents an almost magical approach to brassica growing. This heritage variety produces 1 central head, and after harvest, multiple smaller heads appear, often around 9, hence the name. The plant continues producing for about 5 years before needing replacement. The benefits of perennial crops extend far beyond convenience. This is regenerative agriculture at its finest. Their extensive root systems prevent soil erosion and improve soil structure over time while sequestering carbon deep underground. They require less water once established, need no annual replanting, and provide habitat for beneficial insects year-round. From a financial perspective, you eliminate annual seed and transplant costs after the initial investment. But perennial gardening requires different thinking. These plants need permanent locations, so garden layout becomes crucial. Most perennials take 2 to 3 years before significant production, requiring patience that our instant gratification culture struggles with. You're essentially making long-term investments in your future food security. The sustainability implications are profound. While annual gardens require constant inputs of seeds, transplants, and soil preparation, perennial systems become increasingly self-sufficient over time. They sequester carbon in their root systems and create mini ecosystems that support biodiversity. These 9 perennial crops represent a return to agricultural wisdom our ancestors understood, that the best crops are those you plant once and harvest forever. In our modern world of annual gardens and grocery store dependence, perennials offer a path toward greater food security, environmental sustainability, and connection to the land that feeds us.